Heroes rise like morning sun, chasing points, the game's begun. Big decisions week by week, fantasy glory's what we seek. Pick your squad, the clock won't wait. Captain choice will seal your fate. Two enthusiasts breaking it down. Fantasy kings, we're taking the crown.
Right. Welcome back to another episode of Tinker Time, an FPL pod, the show for every fantasy Premier League manager who's already second-guessing their chip strategy. It's Sunday, September 7th, 2025, and whether you're wildcarding after week 3 or just here to scout some differentials, you've come to the right place. I'm Matt, alongside Jim, and we're here to help you tweak, test, and yes, tinker your way to the top of your mini-leagues. We'll break down the best value picks, fixture trends, and hidden gems, so you don't have to stare at your squad screen in despair. So let's pop the hood, crack open the spreadsheet, and get tinkering. Now, I am very excited for this episode. This one for me is a throwback to my college days. If you guys know me at all, you guys know my favorite thing about college was, without a doubt, threesomes with two dudes. And I have the pleasure today of re-fulfilling that fantasy. I am bringing back two of the coolest dudes I know, FPL BlackLab and the Commish, Austin McGarrow. Gentlemen, welcome back. How are we doing today?
What an introduction. Ost, pleasure to have you on with me, man. This is great. Three friends talking football, nothing better.
It's a threesome. I want to be clear.
What an intro. Wow. Excited to be here. Excited to be joined in this elephant walk.
Boy. Well, yeah, so today we're obviously in the midst of an international break, so we're not going to get into game week preview, but we did mention on the last episode we wanted to spend a little bit of time just kind of recapping some of those last-minute deadline moves within that transfer window. So just to kind of give some folks some context, the transfer windows can be a little bit confusing because there's different leagues, and each league has a little bit of a slightly different window. But basically, the way that some of the leagues in Europe operate, players are free to move during what they call transfer windows. What you need to know right now as an FPL manager, for the Premier League, the transfer window is officially closed. What that means is basically there are no more transfers in now. There are some slight nuances. Unless the team is unable to field a roster spot for some reason, there's a medical exemption, things like that usually don't happen. However, there are some instances where a player can technically still move to other leagues if their windows haven't closed, mainly like the Turkey League or the Turkish League or the Saudi leagues. There are a couple of players. I don't want to spoil anything, but your boy Onana seems to be on his way to, well, you guys know how I do with pronunciation, but Trapsador, I don't even know how to say it. I think he finally agreed to terms. Do I have that right?
Yeah, Trabzonspor.
I nailed that. Yeah. So
I
was close. But so what, basically at the end of the day, what's nice about this is you don't have to necessarily worry so much anymore about players coming in, players going out. These are the players that are going to be in the game from now until the next transfer window, which should open, I believe, sometime. When does it open back up again? Is it late December or is it after the new year?
Usually January kicks off.
Usually
January
right?
window.
Right after the new year. So it'll be a little bit of time. So you can rest assured that the players that are in the game are going to be the ones that you can plan around. So just a few players off the rip that are officially moved on, transferred on to new teams. So if you have these players in your team right now, I'd recommend getting them out because they will not return you any points. So we have Ederson from City, Akanji from City, Ilkay Gundogan from City, Obafemi from Burnley, Aaron Ramsey from Burnley, not to be mistaken with OG Aaron Ramsey, O'Reilly from Brighton, Lamptey, Tariq from Brighton as well as moved on, Chris Nkuku from Chelsea, Nicholas Jackson, who I think can officially say is in Bayern, even though Bayern's boss has pretty clearly said he will not be a Bayern player for very long, but he is there right now.
Plane return? I thought the plane turned around and then went back and then landed, and then he's just there. I think he's just hanging out in Munich for Oktoberfest.
From what I heard, I think Zach and I, we were actually sipping on a couple of nice ciders overlooking a very romantic, scenic hill in town. from what you told me, he was in Bayern. They told him to turn around. He went back, and then he went back again to Bayern. I don't know how that all went down. Do you have any more details on that?
Yeah, there's pictures of him and his agents on the plane landing in Bayern, and then the injury to Liam Delap basically happened while that was going on. Chelsea supposedly called him to come back and then had a change of heart. I think after some conversations, decided to recall Mark Guiu from Sunderland. He was out on loan. Jackson ends up in Bayern, but yeah, the president of Bayern Munich today basically came out and said the only way he will be re-signed after this year is if he plays 30 football matches, and that is not going to happen. So interesting for Nicholas Jackson, but bigger implications for Mark Guiu and triple Chelsea owners.
If I could just pop in on Nicholas Jackson here, I remember the last time I was on, I gave that stat out about Jackson versus Drogba, comparable statistics in their first years in Chelsea. I was sitting on a hot take for a while. If United couldn't get Šeško over the line, I was secretly hoping like, hey, maybe Jackson, but I guess glad I've got Šeško now.
I think you would have outscored Sesko this year, to be honest, Aust. I think you would have scored more goals in that United team coming into the Prem than, Sesko is obviously the better long-term pick for United, but yeah, for one season only, I would have chosen Jackson.
Jackson's gotten a lot of hate. I've never really understood it. Well, I shouldn't say I don't understand it because his finishing skills are not really there, but I don't know. It feels like people have given up on him very quickly.
He just didn't finish. Everything was there. He just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And
It happens to all of us.
It's kind of a big thing for a striker. So, yeah, whatever. Good luck.
Guggenheim. All right. A couple of other players. So one defender who was pretty highly owned, Alex Moreno, who's officially moved out. Your boy Anthony is officially, he is also out. And I spoiled it already. Onana, who is officially out. Are you sad to see him go?
No,
No.
not at all. I think the best thing that United did this summer isn't the Cunha and Buemo Šeško deals. It's the going outs. It's getting rid of Garnacho. It's getting rid of Onana, getting rid of Anthony. I think Malacia is still there somehow, just like in hiding in a locker. And then Rashford to Barca, getting rid of this dead weight off the transfer or off the salaries is huge. And they just didn't perform at United. I don't know, I don't want to use the word, but they're kind of like a cancer to the club. Oh, and I forgot Sancho as well, right? They're kind of a cancer to the club. It's all Amarim's guys, the guys that he trusts. So good riddance, goodbye. I don't care who they're going to put in net. As long as it's not that guy. Oh my God.
All the Eric Ten Hag rejects.
Yeah.
all shipped out this summer.
And conveniently, he loses his job too at the same exact time. I wonder why.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about Onana's replacement because obviously they did not just ship Onana out and not have a replacement plan to bring someone in. But before we get to keepers, let's kick it off with forwards. We have not talked about this guy enough. I personally could not be more excited to talk about everyone's favorite Swede, Xander Isak. Now, Oss, when you were on the episode, you had a very hot take. You thought he should just frankly sit out for the rest of the season. Now that the dust has finally settled, he is now officially a Liverpool player, record-breaking transfer again. What are your thoughts?
I still thought, up until that window shutting last Monday, I thought he was going to be holding out. Like, I was very adamant, like strong in that belief. I think I didn't trust Liverpool to get that one over the line. It just looked really messy, especially on the Newcastle side. A lot of animosity between Isak, Eddie Howe, club ownership, and the Saudis. And the Saudis aren't really ones you want to kind of play that game with. So
why not? What do you have against the Saudis? For our Saudi listeners out there, I mean, what do you have against them?
As a big supporter of the Live Golf League, I don't have anything negative to say. I would love to be on their payroll. I just didn't see it happening, and then Liverpool just splashing the cash. It was a crazy, crazy summer by Liverpool. If I'm being truthful, though, I really didn't think he would stay in the Premier League if I'm going back, like 6 months. I thought he would probably do one more year here in the Champions League with Newcastle in the black and white and make a big move to Real Madrid or I don't really see him as a Barca kind of striker. I saw him as like a lethal Galactico for Real Madrid, bringing them back. Mbappe on the left, Vinicius sipping Mai Tais in Brazil for Palmeiras or something. Like, get him out of there. He's terrible. And bring in Isaac. And that was kind of my whole thought with him. And this whole like Liverpool thing, I was like, nah, it's never going to happen. But now here we are. He's going to be the guy. Lot of talk on what this does to Mo Salah. A lot of talk about what this does to their shape. What does it do to a red hot Ekatike? What does this do to Gakpo? Whew, a lot of questions for Arne Slot. And if there's anyone who can handle it, I mean, he's got the largest sized head of any human being on earth. So I think that brain has got some muscles in there to figure this out. But I'll bounce it to Zach or Matt. What are you guys thinking?
We love brain girth here. So Zach, but like one question for you. So like Jim and I on the last episode, we talked about it a little bit. Like, what's your stance on these players? And Jim did bring up a good point. Like, it's not every player, but like a player of Isaac's caliber, like just kind of going in and I feel like just making demands. He's in a contract. He's trying to kind of force his way, kind of make a move. Like, what's your stance on that? Do you feel like it's good for the game, like players just kind of demanding to make a move and holding out, or do you feel like this is kind of the start of a trend or a worrisome trend? Like, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's like the Americification of European sports, right? We see it here all the time. The difference is these teams get to recoup a lot of money, in the process. Where in U.S. sports, it's more you're trading players for picks or whatnot. At the end of the day, we could feel what we want, but Newcastle got $130 million richer that they could use to reinvest in their squad, and you can make the argument they should have just done this in the beginning of the window, created a market for them. Probably would have shipped them off somewhere else for more money, and they could have reinvested wisely, which I think they did still reinvest very wisely in their squad.
Do you
Is it
think
good
they
for the
needed the
game?
money though? Do you think they needed the
Well,
money?
no, they're a team that doesn't need the money, but I mean, if you're going to capitalize on a player you brought in for cheap, I mean, this is the way to do it. I wouldn't say it's good for the game. I think it only applies to a select few players that are going to be able to do it this way. And at the same time, it's like these players dream of these moves. This is the time he thinks he could do it. This is how you do it, right? You become a pest. You don't train. You tell me I want out and then sell me. So it's not good for the game. I don't think we'll see it too often. But it's just when you get this like soap opera back and forth of, statements and handshake agreements behind closed doors, it's just hopefully the players start to learn a better way to go about it and teams start to operate a bit differently as well.
Yeah. I feel like here's my stance after kind of thinking about it and sitting on it for the last few days. I hate it. Let me be very clear. I feel like if they have a contract, they should honor it. If there's some, shady business going on behind the scenes and there is justification for them saying, hey, you didn't hold up your end of the deal. I want out, or this is means for me to, force my way out. I understand that kind of stuff can happen, but I think there is tremendous pressure on Isaac now to come in and immediately return. If you're going to put yourself up and make yourself the story of the summer, frankly, or the story of the Premier League transfer window, the summer window, you've got to come in and you've got to hit the ground running. If he has a 2 or 3 game, run where he's not in form, there is no excuse. You chose to sit out of training. You chose to not be in form, not be in shape, and now you're going to come in and not produce. I don't have any patience for that. Honest, what do you think?
I agree. And I'm going to throw up a caution sign for everybody here. I think this takes a couple of weeks to get him into the squad. I don't think he's going to hop right into the 11. I don't think he's going to see a ton of game time. Different teams, different shapes, different formations are difficult to do. Uh, don't get me wrong, he's world class. He's absolutely world class. I think he's the best striker currently out there. But it's 10 other new teammates that he's gonna have to play with. He doesn't really quite know them. He doesn't quite know Arne Slot's tactics. I don't know if he can hop right in. We see how tough it is. Now, this is different because he's staying within the Premier League, but blooding in new strikers is difficult. We have two very different approaches here from my United and Zach's Arsenal. Zach's Arteta is throwing Gyökeres to the wolves, and we've seen how that goes. Amorim is babying Šeško and not really playing him much at all, except against a 4th division side of electricians, and he couldn't handle that. So now we have Isak going to a new team. I would not be surprised if he doesn't play in their next fixture and maybe starts making appearances after that. Maybe he's more Champions League ready against, European clubs where it's a little bit more open. I don't know. That's where I'm kind of seeing it right now. What I'm trying to say is he's not coming into my FPL team right now.
And
I
I
can't
think
trust it.
that's totally fair. I just want to play devil's advocate. So if we look at Isak right now, so he started the season at 10.5 mil. He's already had a price drop, which makes sense because a lot of folks had him in. He sat out. A lot of folks moved him out. So he's down to 10.4 right now, 10.4 mil. In his next three, he's got Burnley, Everton, and Palace. Burnley, you gotta love Liverpool against their defense. A newly promoted side. You don't really know what you're gonna get. Everton defense, you got Tarkowski, Pickford. They're gonna be pesky back there, but their defense could be hit or miss. Palace, Glasner's got them playing good defense back there. They're past all the Mark Gahey rumors. LaCroix back there. They've looked good. Chris Richards back. They look good back there. But I could almost make the argument to say, to your point, Isak, he's not new to the Premier League. Do you throw him in against a Burnley and say, hey, maybe this is a little lower risk. We have the squad depth. We should be able to handle a team like Burnley or a team like Everton. Merseyside derby, emotions are going to be running high. Do we introduce our star signing of the summer? Like, is this a fixture run? Do you see him not even necessarily starting, but maybe he gets 30 minutes in that first game week and then 45 because he is going to need to build up a little bit. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, you could see him debut against Burnley, but like you said, I think it'd be like a 10-minute cameo off the bench. I mean, personally, the way I'm looking at it, I would target almost a Crystal Palace fixture. I mean, the thing with Isak is he hasn't even trained. It wasn't like he's been training with Newcastle and got a late move. I mean, the Sweden coach the other day was like, "Oh, it's not responsible for us to play him right now. Like he's not up to speed." Sweden plays again tomorrow or today by the time you're listening. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets any minutes in that game. And then he gets almost 4 or 5 days of training before they play Burnley. But you have the Burnley fixture looks great on paper. And then you have the Merseyside derby, which is a tough environment to put him into, especially if he's not fully trained. And then you get the Palace fixture. To me, it's like if you're Liverpool,
Sorry,
why rush him in?
Zach, I just want to jump in. I'm just looking at fixtures. Yeah, we see it, from an FPL standpoint of Burnley, Everton, Palace, but Wednesday the 17th, Liverpool is at the Wanda Metropolitana in Madrid against Atletico. They have Everton then on the 20th, then the 23rd. They travel to Southampton in the EFL Cup. So those are opportunities where I see Isak playing in those midweek games and maybe not playing in the Prem.
Interesting.
Kind of like a weird look at this transfer. You spend so much money. Why would you not use him in the Prem? Well, where do you win all your money? You win your money in the Champions League. And if he bags 2 against Simeone's Atletico, that's a return on investment unlike any other. Instead of, beating Everton at the Hill Dickinson Stadium or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their attack so far this year, and it's been fantastic. I mean, yeah, it looked par against Arsenal, but like, or subpar against Arsenal, but so is everybody else. So it's, you're facing one of the best defenses in the world. It's not going to look that great. You should be able to handle Burnley, Everton. Maybe he comes in for Palace with Ekatike, Gakpo, Verts, Sal. Like, the amount of money spent on that front four is still absolutely absurd. And to be honest, Ekatike looked great. Gakpo's looked fantastic, and Wirtz is going to take some time. I think we see him eased in, kind of like United's doing with Sesko. I mean, to your point, also, Arteta doesn't have a choice right now, right? Like, Havertz would have been starting these games if if he didn't get hurt. So, Gyökeres has been thrown to the wolves, and you can tell he's not up to speed yet, fitness wise. So I think Isak's going to take a couple weeks as well.
I did hear a rumor of Liverpool eventually going back three with Isak and Salah as the two up top. This obviously hurts Ekatike supporters. Ekatikicians, I believe they're calling themselves.
Ecaticatarians.
Ekatikatarians, thank you. I don't know. I don't know. That completely changes Salah's output, I believe, as well.
What
I don't know,
output? He's had garbage goals lately. I mean,
it's true.
To me, it's from an FPL perspective. We could talk all we want about, waiting and this and that. I wouldn't be bringing in a Gakpo as good as he's looked. I wouldn't be bringing in Ekatike because the uncertainty for their minutes. Ekatike could play on the left. Isak could play up top. Gakpo could play on the left. Isak could play up top. There's just so much fluidity there where, to me, like, the safest bets are going to eventually be Salah and Isak for the two Liverpool owners. And at the same time, Verts will probably still be playing behind them. So it's hard with the fixture. I mean, if you own them, I wouldn't sell them. But if I'm like on a wild card this week, I would not be bringing in Gakpo or Ekatike.
Is there a chance that Salah's minutes aren't as assured as we're thinking?
There could definitely be some rotation there. I feel like as long as Salah's there and wants to play, though, he's going to be pretty close to 90 every week
you think there's
until proven otherwise.
penalty risk?
I don't think so.
He'd have to miss a few.
Yeah, I think everybody wants him, to get 30 goals every year in Liverpool. I would see him still getting the ball, but if he misses a few, I mean, he's been known to miss pens. He's not like 100%. He's no Bruno Fernandes. That's all I'm trying to say.
Jeez. Well, all right. So I think, because like I mean, we could talk Isak for the next 45 minutes, but I think we're in consensus. I think Isak right now is probably a hold for. If you don't have him in your team right now, I would probably say we're all holding for the time being.
I think all Liverpool assets are a hold. I think it's like a scary time.
Yeah. Let's wait to see kind of how the lineup shakes out, if at all. I mean, like you said, he may just turn into like rotation because it doesn't feel like even when they rotate, there's going to be that much of a drop in quality. So he may just try to keep folks fresh. Liverpool's going to be playing a lot of games if they go as far and as deep into tournaments and cups as they should. So yeah, we'll have to see. I'm not feeling great about my Ekatike pick right now that I've got in my team. Such as FPL management.
Love him this week against Burnley.
Yeah. Hopefully, fingers crossed. All right, so another player who not new to the Prem, but seemingly felt like he was worth the attention to go out of his way to kind of give himself the attention. Yohan Wissa, so former Brentford striker, really came into his own really just kind of last season. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but had a very good campaign. Was priced at $7.5 million. Has not featured for Brentford this season. Basically, so he's moved over to Newcastle. That move was basically held up.
Similar to Isak, right? Another holdout.
Yeah. And to Zach's point, I think if Newcastle had made the Isak move earlier in the season, I think Wissa would have been moved earlier. Or some of those domino pieces would have fallen a little bit earlier into place. Just, I think that was really the move that everyone was waiting for. How do you guys feel about this? I mean, I'll give you my take first. So I think Wissa probably will slot in. I don't think he's going to be a player, frankly, that is going to be. He's not going to have to worry about the learning curve with the prem. He's used to it. At his age, I don't think you're going to be worrying about long term success. Newcastle right now, so Anthony Gordon with the red card last week. Alenga didn't start last week. That was a little bit confusing to me. I don't think that you're going to start Harvey Barnes up top. Osula, who is their backup striker, I thought there was a deal on deadline day, but I actually think I read that that actually fell through. So I don't think he actually left. I think they're very thin up top. So if this is fit, even if he can give them 45 to 60 minutes, I think he may start. They're playing Wolves, who have been a dumpster fire this season. They're not playing any defense whatsoever. I'm not saying that I would necessarily look to bring him into my squad this week, but he could be somebody at 7.5. He should be someone that could be on a radar. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is he even on your radar?
I like Wisa. He's versatile in that he can kind of play anywhere up front. He's really good when it comes to pressing. I I like what he offers. I'm just worried about Newcastle kind of up top. I think they're so good defensively and so good in midfield that anyone should be able to play up top with them. So I think this transfer does work out, but I don't know if he's going to be the focal point because I think the focal point is going to be talked about in a little bit. I'm with you on the Alanga stuff. That threw me for a loop. I brought him in last week. I was very big on Alanga based off of what I saw against Arsenal. Kind of confused on Eddie Howe, and what he's thinking. I think Harvey Barnes is cooked. I think his chances of playing are done. Anthony Gordon has the worst haircut to ever walk through the Premier League, but that doesn't take him out of the lineup, unfortunately, for viewers. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Anthony Gordon, by the way, looks like he should be a shooting guard for Butler. Am I wrong?
I
Like,
could see that. I could see
just
that.
like an annoying 3-point shooter for Butler where you're like, this guy, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Like
he's like
another
he's a
one?
go-to bucket,
Mm-hmm.
but he's just like you just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Or I
yeah.
mean, Butler, Duke, something like that. I don't think he's as high end as Duke. Like Duke wouldn't recruit him, but he's just yeah, he's definitely a Butler guy. Like yeah, Central Indiana. Yeah, born and bred. Yeah, like Hoosier basketball player of the year. Like just gross, disgusting basketball.
Yeah, I think in isolation, the Vista move is great. And then, like Austin said, I mean, what we're going to talk about in a few minutes, they probably should be spoken about together, honestly, because I would feel really good about the move until Newcastle went and broke their transfer record to bring in a different striker who's a bit younger. And Eddie Howe, for years, liked having two strikers. And Wissa, to me, almost seems like in a few weeks' time is going to be playing the Callum Wilson role to Isak, the way Vissa may be doing to Voltemade if he hits the ground running. But again, he's been a proven Premier League striker, a really good FPL asset last year. And if I was going to pick one for this week, I'd probably go with Vissa.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm with you there, Z. I think that Voltemade is definitely kind of the exciting, kind of up and coming, priced at 7 mil. I think where it just comes into play, right? Like he's a relative unknown, at least as far as how he's going to perform in the Prem. And I know you've done a little bit of research on him. Why don't you give the listeners a little bit of just kind of like what to expect from him? What is the hype around him?
Yeah, so they out in Germany they call him the 6'6" Messi. And if you've watched this guy play, he does not play like somebody that is 6'6". His dribbling, his link up play, his connectivity to the midfield. Honestly, it's like watching a ballerina. He is a joy to watch play football. I'm stoked to have him in the Premier League. I think in a few weeks' time, this is a fantastic signing for Newcastle. I think with wingers as quick and technical as Alanga and Gordon on either side of him, I think he's going to play really well. Again, 23, risky. We've seen other young players come over from the Bundesliga in Kunku who have not done well at all in the Premier League. So there's definitely some risk there. But from what I personally have seen, he's going to be one I'm going to be keeping on my radar. And at 7 million is at a really interesting price point for when you start thinking about potentially getting an Isak in next to him or a bigger name player in your squad. Austin, I know you and I have spoke about him a little bit. So what else you got on him?
I remember back in, I believe, June when the Premier League had ended, Champions League had ended, and we hit that weird like Nations League final. And it was like we went to international fixtures, and like you completely forgot that that existed as a competition. And Germany was playing Portugal, and Voltemata was up top for Germany. It was I'm not a Bundesliga baddie, okay? I don't take my talents to ESPN Plus, for that. But so I
You're more
was
of a
unaware.
pirated guy.
Yeah, I was unaware. I was unaware of Voltemata's work, and I see this giant up top, and I'm like, "Who is this guy? Like, he's got to be terrible." And Zach, you're spot on. He's unbelievable with his back to goal. He's unbelievable with ball into feet. He moves really well. He's not just like an aerial target, right? Not just like a pretty face like Olivier Giroud. He's
The prettiest of faces.
the prettiest of faces. Yeah.
Really pretty face.
That's twice now I've been on this podcast, and twice I've said that he's that pretty. So sorry, listeners. Yeah, I am who I am. So while you were talking, Zach, I started thinking, we're victims of recency bias. And when we think Jon Wisa, we think of him playing with Mbeumo, right? Because that was last year. They worked really well together. However, you have to kind of jog your memory a little bit and dust the cobwebs off on another large but ballet-like striker who Jan Wisa played with, and that's Ivan Toney. And Toney and Wisa played together at Brentford for 3 years. You didn't hear much about Wisa, but he was the guy supplying Toney. And I kind of see this relationship here in Newcastle maybe being a second version of that, maybe an ebony and ivory version of that. That could really work. That could really work.
If you look at the depth Newcastle has, I mean, their squad really impresses me. I mean, their midfield is so talented and so strong. Howe can set that team up however he wants. He could play both of them up top together. He can go 4-4-2 and put, Gordon Alanga on the wings, Bruno Guimaraes and Tonali with Joelinton injured when he gets back as well. They could hold down a midfield against anybody. So I think that they could be a really exciting attacking team. And they're kind of a team that goes under the radar in FPL a lot. Their price points of their players are usually a bit interesting. And just to play devil's advocate on, we're saying Wissa is the more ready to start this week. He also has been training alone for most of the preseason and isn't up to speed. Whereas Voltemad had a full preseason with Stuttgart, and the German, again, not very great. And he also started both games for Germany this international break, I think he played 60 today, but he played 90 in the first game and had an assist today. So fitness-wise, he may be more up to speed than Wissa.
You think he'd be worth taking a chance this week? He's got Wolves, Bournemouth, and then your Gunners the next 3 weeks.
I would say no, because if there's uncertainty on if he plays this week, and then he's looking at a Bournemouth Arsenal in the next 2, it's just not great fixtures. So
Yeah.
I would probably hold off on the Newcastle strikers in general and avoid those.
How crazy has Bournemouth gone, right? Like, I feel like last time I was on the pod, I was talking about how terrible their defense is after losing so many guys on the outs. And now it's like, I don't want to play Bournemouth. Like,
Andoni, man.
yeah,
Andoni's got those boys defending
he put the
their jobs do
clamps.
depend on it. So that's
He-
literally
he-
what their jobs depend on.
I mean, how does Tottenham go from beating City, manhandling City, to 0 XG through 60 minutes against Andoni's Bournemouth. Like I
Spurs
didn't even.
played so bad that Daniel Levy lost his job. So I don't know if I'm really that upset. I mean, if the ends justify the means, right? But yeah, and Bournemouth they're one of those teams that just, if you relax a little bit, they'll get you. So,
Yeah, I think a nice segue into
yeah,
the next guy there. I think I did it. I think I hit
absolutely.
you.
And I want to say too, I love that. And I don't know if FPL did this on purpose because obviously that they didn't do it on purpose because they don't know the transfers and who's going to be coming in. But I'm very glad that they added some forwards in the 7 to 7.5 mil range because for a while it was basically Evan Nilsson at 7, Solanke at 7.5, and then like everyone else at 8 or 9 or 9.5, and then Holland at 14. Kolo Muani is in at 7 mil. So coming over from, I always forget if he came from PSG or Juve. I forget if he was on loan. Where did he come from? I forget.
So he was on loan at Juve last year from January
That's what it
on.
was.
There was so as a uh, little Juve fan over here as well. He was basically all summer. We just assumed he was going to be back at Juve. And PSG played a lot of hardball there, trying to get a fee rather than just a loan, and Juve wanted to loan him. So a little surprising to see him at the last second, just a straight loan to Tottenham with no obligation or whatever to buy after a summer of negotiations. But this is Coleman is an interesting one. I think it's more of a reaction to the Solanke news, given that he's going to be injured for a little bit.
Yeah.
And obviously Richarlison's form has been so good to start the year, but Kolo Muani has done it at a lot of big clubs. He had a pretty decent season for Juve for the few months he was there. He's not going to score you 30 goals a year, but he's a really talented striker, and I think he'll fit in that Thomas Frank system really well.
Yeah, I'll admit, I know the name. I couldn't really tell you much about him. I have not spent.
Everybody should know. Everybody should know him from his World Cup fame. He's the guy who lost France the World Cup.
Yep, the one-on-one with
The
Emi Martinez.
one-on-one with Emi Martinez hit it off his boot.
Oh, was that him?
That was him.
Ugh. I
Yep.
think I was. I don't remember where I was for that. I was probably drunk somewhere,
I
but
think it was
I will
like
say
at
he could
10
play.
a.m. I think it was like 10 a.m.
yeah,
U.S. time.
that sounds right.
Eastern time. You might have been You might have been West Coast, maybe even more.
Yeah. But no, I mean, like I said, yeah, I think Zach, you nailed it, right? Like the Solanke news kind of came out that injury, he's been on the bench, he's gotten some time, but it feels like he's not really able to, kind of take the training wheels off. And, if you're going to be out there in any capacity compromised, we need that depth. You know, Spurs, they're not going to legitimately, challenge for any major trophies this year. But that being said, we do have some games to be played, and we need that squad depth. And you said it right. There's no obligation to buy or anything like that, and so straight loan. He'll be going back at the end of the season, unless something changes. But I don't know what would change at this point. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he'll give us. I'm always a fan of more depth. I feel like depth breeds competition, and competition usually brings out the best. So I'm excited to see what he can bring, and I love the price point at 7 mil. Not
Yeah,
looking to bring him into my squad though, just yet.
the one I think he affects the most from Spurs assets would be Brennan Johnson, because Kolo Muani could also play on the left,
Mm,
which then, with Xavi Simmons coming in as well, you can see a front three of Kolo Muani, Richarlison, Kudus, and Simmons behind. So it just gives you a little bit more pause when you look at that front line of Spurs and who you want to actually bring in.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Kudus is the first guy on the team sheet for Thomas Frank, and then there's going to be flexibility beyond that. Brennan Johnson is so dangerous from an FPL standpoint. I don't know. I just think he could get like a goal and assist every game, or he could just completely go missing and never play the rest of the year because Lily Phillips just has her grip on him. But I don't know.
he's an odd one. I'll be honest. One, just first and foremost, he's got to get a haircut. Hate his hair. He's got to do something with it. I can't stand to look at it on my TV anymore. Once he gets that figured out, then I can focus on him for FPL because I can't have that in my squad. But in all seriousness, I feel like last year Obviously, he kind of, had his I think last year was his highest goal total, or at least meaningful goals. He really benefited from a lot of balls just whipped across into the box, and he would kind of just, put his boot on it, and you know, those goals that frankly, like, you can't defend. The keeper's never going to get to them because they're just an angle, right? Like, you can't do anything about it. He had one already this season too. So, I mean, if that's his style of play, if that's how he's going to get his goals, that's fine. I'm fine with him being active in the box and, getting his goals that way, getting his contributions that way. Like you said, it'll be interesting to see kind of what these players coming in, Simmons and Muani coming in, what they're going to do. I I have been very impressed with Frank thus far. I know the Bournemouth game was brutal to watch. You can hardly call it a game, but we weren't going to go 38-0-0. So, you just chalk it up to maybe a bad week. Even City's had a couple bad weeks to start the season, so it's going to happen. But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how BJ plays it out. But he's not new to the game, so no surprises there. So any other forwards? I think that's basically all the forwards. Everyone
Yeah,
else has been in the game for a while here. All right.
yeah, I'm looking at my forwards list. I got nothing else.
All right, all right. All right, so that brings us to the sponsor of our episode. So this episode is sponsored by the Coffee Table Book about coffee tables. That's right, a book about coffee tables that itself becomes a coffee table. Who else but Cosmo Kramer could bring such an idea into the world? Flip through glossy pages filled with the finest coffee tables mankind has ever produced. Scandinavian minimalism, mahogany masterpieces, even one shaped like a giant Rubik's Cube. And when you're done reading, just fold out the built in legs, set it down, and boom, you've got yourself a coffee table. It's literature and furniture. High culture meets high function. Pick up your copy today at kramerscoffee.com and use code TINKER for 20% off. That's kramerscoffee.com, code TINKER, the coffee table book about coffee tables. Because sometimes the table is the story. And back to the pod. All right, so we talked forwards. Now let's talk about midfielders. And let me also just say, I feel like at the beginning of the season, with the inclusion of DEFCON and the way the pricing worked out, I thought midfielders were just going to be like the overwhelming, like, point returners, haulers every single week. Defenders have really been like where the points have been. I don't know if that's going to continue to be a trend. I don't know if like DEFCON was one of those point traps, whatever it was, but I don't know. Just I'm excited to see some new midfielders come in. I'm hoping to see some better returns from midfielders as we move into game week 4. But Zach, you just mentioned, and I think I'm saying this right, Xavi. I don't know, local pronunciations, but Xavi Simmons. So coming over from Leipzig over to Spurs, 7 mil. So he is, I think, third choice, but honestly, probably one of the best third choices you could have behind Gibbs White. And who's that other guy we lost out on? Doesn't matter.
The best one, Eber Chaza.
He's 6 years older, so who cares? But so FPL wise, right? So he's priced at 7 mil. I will admit, like, other than his age, I'm not super familiar with his game. I know he's supposed to be a wonder boy. What do you guys got on him? What should we expect?
He's a wonder boy. I don't know what it will take for him to fulfill the wonder boy cycle. I'll never forget seeing him in the La Masia videos for Barcelona. Maybe Barcelona signed him because he was named Xavi from birth, and it was like just an agreement. I pitched that to my wife on my son. She didn't go for it, so I guess maybe there's no truth to that. But you see him with the Netherlands on the national stage, on the international stage, and he's a baller. He's a baller. He's done it in the Netherlands. He's done it in Germany now for Leipzig. Leipzig had a really bad year though last year. I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on him from an output standpoint. He can do it, but I don't know. Is he like a Memphis Depay kind of
Mm.
like signing into the Prem where he like just does not work? I feel like that happens with Dutch guys in the Prem. It just doesn't seem to work. But I don't know. I could be completely wrong
Can you just
here.
let us have this one? Like, why do you gotta just piss on it?
Well, you needed
Christ.
one. You needed one. You needed one, right?
We really did.
I don't think you would have gone for him if Madison went down or Madison didn't went down. You know what I mean?
Probably not. I
So
mean,
I would rather
although we
have
didn't really have
Madison.
much depth.
Can we agree there? Right? I'd rather have Madison in your team.
I think I'd rather a healthy Madison. I honestly don't think I can't really think of, like, a spell since Madison has come over to Spurs where we've really had him fully healthy. It maybe, like, a 5 or 6 game spell here and there, but, like, he had a hard time with Ant just, like, staying fit. I don't know if it was his style or if it was his system or if just, like, sometimes players, like, Father Time gets us all at some point. Like, sometimes bodies just break down. But, like, to your question, like, if I had a healthy Madison, yes, I would rather him. That being said, though, like, I'm excited for what Simmons could bring. I mean, I think also bringing in a player, asking him to be creative is different than asking him to go in and give me, 20 goals, right? Go up top and start scoring. He's going to be a player, I think, from an FPL perspective, right? I could see him being on corners. I could see him potentially kind of being involved in the attack, being involved in the box. He can basically play any midfield position. He can play on the left, he can play centrally, he can play on the right, he could play very attacking, he could sit a little bit deeper. So is he gonna get, DEFCON points? I don't think so. Is he gonna be, someone who's gonna rack up assists? Is he gonna be someone who's gonna rack up goals? We'll have to see. There should be a little bit of an adjustment period, I would imagine, but he, is one of the better players coming from the Bundesliga as well. So, that being said, how quickly will that translate? It's hard to say. I don't know.
I think the biggest caution with him is what we've seen from another Bundesliga wonder boy who came over for an expensive fee, and Florian Wirtz, who has gotten off to a slower start than people imagine, coming off of a fantastic year for Leverkusen. And to me, he's almost more built structure-wise or stature-wise for the Premier League
You
than
mean like
Simmons is.
physically?
Yeah, he looks more like he could play the 10 in the Premier League, whereas Simmons is a little bit smaller in stature, and that physicality could take a little bit to get up to speed. I mean, to your point, to both you guys, I mean, he's a wonder boy. Creativity is fantastic. It's just a matter of if it translates over to the league quick enough to make him a relevant asset right away.
I mean, I'm looking at a potential lineup for Spurs, and I like it. I like it a lot. With Kudus and with Brandon Johnson on the left, or maybe Kolomwani, with Solanke or Richarlison up top. Pina looks unbelievable. That was, I think, their best signing. Bentancur is just a utility guy in there. He's a rock. And Papsar's looked good. Papsar's been good. So now we're gonna go with Simmons instead. Um, I it's definitely more creative. It's not as workhorse-y, I would say. But maybe he has his role in Champions League, compared to the Prem. Could you see that, Zach?
Yeah, I think you'll see him featured there more. I'll put it this way. If you look at the two players they were looking at between Eze and him, if they signed Eze, I would have put him in my lineup the next week
Mhm.
because I think he would have been a standout. He's premier proven. He's up to speed. And I think Frank would have put him in right away. With Simmons, I would just be cautious, wait and see, watch a couple games for yourself. Who do they have coming up? I mean, they have a great fixture run, right? So you should see the best out of them. West Ham, Brighton, Wolves. I mean, those are three games where he should get time, he should get space to
Yeah.
be on the ball and see him work. So I'd give him at least a game or two and see what he looks like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he runs into a Newcastle. No, I'm never putting him in there because, like, Bruno Guimaraes is destroying this guy. Tonali, Joelinton, they're destroying him. But if he doesn't have to play them, yeah, I'd fancy Simmons.
Yeah. Yeah, they gave him the number 7. They high expectations for this kid, for sure. They didn't shy away from it, which frankly, I appreciate it, right? Like they're trying to bring in a big name player. To be honest, this is one of the bigger names, like, since I've been following Spurs that they've really, like, gone out and kinda just went and got. Now granted, like I said, he was kind of the I don't wanna say 3rd choice because, like, was he available when they were trying to get Gibbs White? Was he available when they were trying to go get Eze? Like, I don't know, obviously, like, sometimes players aren't on the table and then things happen, you know, obviously, we're not gonna get into what could or could not have gone down. But, like, at the end of the day, like, he's a Spurs player, he's gonna be here for a while, so hopefully he pans out, and hopefully he's an awesome FPL asset. I think that'd be awesome, like, Jim and I were saying on the last ep, like, it's just so awesome to even have Spurs players that are worth thinking about bringing in. It's been a while, like, basically since Harry left, because Sonny had a couple down years, but
I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him.
I love
I
that, I love that.
love a good Wonder Boy, and I will leak a little info. I had a conversation with a certain friend of ours who's a big fan of a different club in London, and he was really hoping that Chelsea would sign this guy, and was already penciling him into lineups and like loving what that would do for Chelsea. Well, now he's got to wear the whites, and I'm
Ugh.
interested to see how cough Joe takes that one.
Instead, they signed a different winger.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to go there next? We'll skip the next guy. We can sign that. We can talk about that winger. Which
I'm fine skipping the next guy. I that was only there, Oz, in case you wanted to just give him a eulogy.
Jadon Sancho, goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's all
don't
I
bring him
got.
in.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
don't do
Don't
it.
do
Don't
it.
ever put him in
Unless
your
he's the
lineup.
key to unlocking Villa, who have been dog shit.
Oh,
No, I think that's going to be Mr. Harvey Elliott. I think that signing for Villa is actually fantastic. He's a cheap midfielder in this game, and actually, he's a hell of a lot more creative than Sancho is at this point. So
I don't.
that's a signing
I'm
to
so
watch out.
surprised he went there. Like to me, he does not seem like a Unai Emery type of player whatsoever. I don't know how he fits into that structure. I don't know what he's gonna do. He doesn't look like he wants to even play soccer anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe he just likes the Birmingham area. I don't know. So yeah,
Harvey
we can.
Elliott priced at 5.4, only owned by 0.3%. You think he slots right in?
I mean, I think Villa needs to do. I mean, let's put it this way: Emery is a stubborn manager coming from somebody who used to have him as his manager of the team he supports. But they have looked horrendous. I mean, you need to do something in that attack to unlock some sort of creativity. So it wouldn't surprise me if you see Sancho and Elliott starting next week with Rogers and Watkins up top.
Do you think that unlocks Watkins?
Can't get any worse. I mean, Watkins XG actually hasn't been terrible. I think it's like 0.5. And I think he's ranked like ninth for forwards. Which obviously you expect more from Watkins, but it's not like it's been horrendous. Just Villa have just looked terrible as a team. So they just need to figure it out and they need to click. There were some players talking about the transfer market had a lot to do with the morale of the team. There was a lot of players linked away. Now that that's done and all the deals are done, hopefully they could settle in a little bit and see some creativity come back to that attack.
I think
Yeah.
Watkins is a big victim of that. Of what you just said. If you rewound the clock like a year and a half ago to the Euros, right? Watkins scores that goal for England to take them into the Euro finals. I think a lot of people are very high on him at that point, and I think you would even have said, Zach, right? Like bring him to Arsenal. Am I wrong?
Yep. I would have taken the Arsenal day right away. Yeah, absolutely.
And then he goes this summer where so many clubs need strikers, and he wasn't even a thought by
No.
Newcastle, by United, by Arsenal, right? Everybody was looking elsewhere. I don't know what that does to his ego. I don't know what that does to his performances. He doesn't look like he did 2 years ago. I don't know. Maybe is it the manager? Is it the club? Is it him just in a bad rut. I don't know, but something needs to happen in Villa. Sancho's not it, but good luck to him.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, like, it's not necessarily the players that are transferred that come into a squad that you want to bring into your FPL team, but it's those players and how they could impact other players like a Watkins, right? So, like, is Elliott, not Sancho, but like, is Elliott one of those players that, can be creative, that can kind of unlock a little bit of that goal threat that Watkins is just dying to, be, that we know he can be? Possibly. I'm trying to think back to like when Watkins was really scoring goals. Morgan Rogers, I mean, he's not, I guess, he's not a surprise to anyone in the league anymore, right? Like people have his scouting report, teams have his scouting report. So it's not like he's taking anyone off guard at this point. But, I imagine Morgan Rogers is going to play on the left, Harvey Elliott's going to play on the right. So does that kind of balance the attack a little bit more? I don't know. It has been a head scratcher all season. I don't really know what to make of them at this point, but they've definitely been frustrating if you've had
It's Emery
Watkins.
playing. Emery's playing like 10 midfielders a game, essentially, and not providing any width for his striker. I mean, he's played with no wingers. And last year, when they were clicking, I mean, he had Rashford on the wing, he had Asensio playing, he had Rogers. Like, there was definitely some more movement going on behind Watkins. John McGinn, I don't think, and Kamara are going to make that work.
Yeah, and Kamara's out for a couple weeks now, I guess. McGinn doesn't look like he should be playing, for a top 6 side. I think McGinn would kill it for like a bottom tier team. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of off Villa. Unfortunately, I'm stuck with Watkins in my team right now. Maybe he comes good. Maybe he comes good. I don't know. We'll see. As of right now, I'm holding on to Watkins just because like I would love to move to like one of these new strikers that we just talked about, but I'm like so cautious on if they play or if they don't play. Whereas like I know Watkins is gonna play. It's just a matter of like, can he give me something, please?
Yeah. I would almost rather like let Villa figure it out. I can sleep at night knowing that I missed out on Villa's returns. Like let them figure it out. And then if I have to figure out a way to get Watkins in, I'll figure it out. However, the one player that I can definitely sleep knowing that I never want him in my team, Marshall Mathers himself, Garnacho. Okay. Did you see, like, I think it was his Instagram or his Twitter or whatnot, like before he even got like Fabrizio drops the here we go, and his first post is him in the barbershop chair saying, getting my fresh bleach for my photo shoot, my introductory press conference. I'm like, this is what you're doing? Like the first thing you thought to do after you finally like get your situation figured out is I'm gonna go bleach my hair and then post about it? I can't even handle this guy anymore. I used to think like, okay, maybe he's just getting the, shit end of the stick at United. He's a young player, he seems to have some talent, but now he just seems like a punk to me. I don't know. I don't know the guy personally.
I couldn't agree more. There's a lot of times like, you say that guy's the worst. Like this guy's the worst. Like period, like hands down. I mean, the amount of problems he caused at United or that his brother caused at United from leaking lineups 2 hours before game started or 3 hours before game started or even the day before he would leak lineups to not showing up to trainings on time to just downright disrespect to other players at United. He's the worst. Do think that there was some type of relationship that his brother created with Fabrizio, and I think Fabrizio was like getting paid off this because he was really the only in the know blue check mark guy that was like pushing the Garnacho news all summer. Like everybody else was like, nobody cares, nobody wants him. And Fabrizio just kept pushing the Chelsea stuff. I think he had to have gotten some kind of kickback on that. I don't think how is he going to play for Chelsea? Like he's
Yeah,
not
so
a
let's think about that,
Chelsea
right?
player.
So who
No.
right now, like let's think about the left side, right? So left side at Chelsea,
Right,
They've
like, he
had,
can
I think,
only play down the left, like,
yeah, you're not going
boots
to play him
on
on
the
the right.
line. Yeah, like, boots on the touchline winger.
I think Gittins has played some on the left. Neto can play on the left.
Yeah,
Who else am I
he's
missing?
not gonna he's not gonna see much time there, at least to start. I mean, I think this is one we can kinda touch on quickly. I mean, he's just joining a roulette of wingers at Chelsea that when Palmer's back, the way Esteval's playing, Neto's playing, Pedro's playing, like, he's not gonna crack that lineup to start. It's just he's gonna join the ranks of another young winger who's going to Chelsea, who will probably be loaned to Strasbourg in the next 2 years, and it'll move on from there. It's just I don't think there's much to talk about until he actually goes out and does it. He'll get like 30 minutes a game, score a big goal here or there, and will never enter a fantasy lineup for anybody who's actually engaged
Oh, I love
in
it.
the app.
I love it.
Move on.
I love it. I love it. All right, so this next one I think is interesting. So these kind of go together. Eze obviously was not, at the last minute of the transfer window, but we didn't really get to talk about him in depth. And obviously, I wanted to get your take on him, Z, because our local Arsenal expert, and then his replacement at Palace. So I believe is going to be his replacement. Why don't we let's start with Eze because I think we'll probably we talked about him a little bit, but just talk a little bit, Z, about like obviously you love the move. You already said that. No surprises there, but just like maybe talk more about what you think it does for the rest of the players. How do you think it impacts Odegaard? How do you think it impacts guys like Gyökeres and Saka? Do you think it benefits them? Do you think obviously you feel like it benefits them, but do you feel like it's gonna, he's gonna take goals from them? Do you think he's gonna distribute? Do you think he's gonna is he gonna be on corners? Do you think he's a candidate to take pens at some point if Yocker starts to falter? Like, give me your take. Like, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think Arsenal has been calling out for some sort of creativity from the left side for the last couple of years. I mean, I remember you and I talking over the summer, and both of us agreed like I'd rather Arsenal spend their money on a left-sided player than a number 9 because I thought it was more important to the squad. Right now, Arsenal has, especially with Saka and Madueke playing on the right, you have Martinelli and Trossard on the left, both who have really underperformed. I think Eze will slot in there this week on the left. I think his ball carrying and his creativity is exactly what they need from that side. I think his potential output may lower from like what we're used to seeing with him, but I think he's the key to unlocking the potential of Gyökeres in this lineup and those quick balls through to set him down the channel. It also is going to allow Calafiori to overlap down the left, which we don't really have right now. Just adds another sort of creativity. And I think actually him playing with one of the defender signings we'll talk about for Arsenal really excites me in who they signed there. But yeah, I think it's just another creative piece. I'll see him playing more on the left, more like a left 8, left wing, rather than in Odegaard's role, unless Odegaard gets hurt.
And I signed DeAndre Hopkins for my FPL team because that was the greatest touchdown I've ever seen in my life from
That's a
Lamar
fantastic catch.
Jackson. That was unbelievable.
What's his price
Wow.
at?
I don't know what he's priced at. Oh my God. He's better than
Well,
Garnacho. He's better
You
than
could bring him in on
Garnacho.
wild card. I think you could bring him in on wild card. That sounds right.
Wow. Sorry.
29 yards.
I
Good for him.
didn't even hear a single thing you said, Zach. Eze, love him.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as FPL goes, so fixture wise, I don't feel like right now is the best time to target Arsenal players. If you're on a wild card, if you're considering a free hit, I don't know if this is the week to do it. They're playing Forest, who have had a pretty good defense. They kind of imploded against West Ham late last week in game week 3. But then after Forest, they've got City, who usually you're going to put a couple goals past, but Arsenal have kind of handled them as of late. And City right now, we don't really know what we're going to get from them. Are we going to get the team from the first half or the second half against Brighton? I don't know. That was kind of Jekyll and Hyde last match. And then Newcastle, right? I mean, we just spent 15 minutes talking about their 2 new strikers coming in. Is that the game week where, we see Voltemade kind of settle in, right? It'll be almost 3 weeks from now. I mean, that's a lot of time to have training, a lot of time to, kind of settle in and get ingrained in Eddie Howe's system. And who knows, right? So, I mean, I agree that Eze is a very talented player. He's a player that I have had in my squad for many seasons. I just don't know if this is the fixture run. But then again, I'm in last place right now, so maybe you should just do the exact opposite of what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, if so, Arsenal's got the early kickoff on Saturday against Forest, and if we get early team news that Eze is starting for someone sitting here who needs to move Cunha out in that price bracket with two
Mm,
free transfers, I mean, I can almost guarantee you Eze is the one that would replace him. So I'll be waiting to make that transfer to the last minute. I do think he starts that game, and honestly, I think Arsenal handled Forest. Forest looked really poor against West Ham. And I think that's a game that Arsenal's just going to hold the ball and control the possession. And Eze's perfect for these type of games for us. City, yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of cagey games with City. I think it'll depend on how Arteta lines up. I don't know if that one's home or at the Etihad. If he actually goes and lets the boys play, I think we'd see some goals in that game. But if it's like what we did against Liverpool, maybe a little bit different. In Newcastle, we always have cagey. Again, game week 7 on, you're going to see a ton of people go triple Arsenal because their fixture run
yes.
absolutely changes. So the counterpoint is if you get in now and you see a return from some of those players before a potential rise, you could catch some returns and some differential points before then if you plan on bringing them in anyways.
Yeah. I will say, I I'm hindsight's obviously 2020. Definitely pulled my wild card too early. But the flip side of that, like if all my players had hit, I would have said, "Oh, I pulled it at the right time." So I don't know. It's I fell into the trap again that I do like every season very early. I just get so infatuated with fixture runs. Like I see those lines of green, on that fixture difficulty rating, and I just feel like that those are the players to target. And sometimes I just got to look at the name and like think about it that way a little bit more. But yeah, so now obviously Eze departed from Palace. There has been a player who I believe is the player that they brought in to replace him, Yeremy Pino. I don't think it's Pino. I think it's just Pino. He, I believe, got a few minutes in their last game. Trying to bring it up here. So they gave him the number 10 shirt. So he's a midfielder priced at 6 mil. So a little bit cheaper than Eze, which is nice. Keep in mind, Palace have been in great form. They've got Sunderland, West Ham before they run into Liverpool 3 weeks from now. So that'll be in game week 6. But as far as, Yeremy Pino, I mean, I don't know a lot about him. He played 19 minutes in the last game against Villa, which was a 3-0 win against Villa. He had one shot, which was interesting, but, not really much from it. Looks like before this, he came from Villarreal. He spent about 5 years there. 22 goals over 170 matches, 3 goals over 15 caps for the Spanish national team. I don't know. I mean, do you know too much about him?
I mean, I don't think he's really one to target. It's a signing Palace had to make to create some or to add some sort of creativity after losing Eze. So, I mean, he's going to play that role. Someone who will help out Mateta and the likes of Sarr. I mean, but with the Sarr injury, we're looking at potentially 4 to 6 weeks out with him. Palace has a ton of fixtures. They're already gassed. Their players have already said it. Their fixture run is great. There's just a little caution there with the injuries and the amount of games they've had to play. So Pino's one I would wait on. I don't think he's one that's going to come in and make his. There's better players at that price bracket. Um, I would just avoid for now, but hopefully he helps the likes of Sarr and Mateta keep up their form.
Yeah. Yeah. Prime example of exactly what I was just saying, where like, don't fall in love with the fixtures because, like you said, I think there's better options. I agree with you there. And there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. There's going to be that transition period where he's going to have to get used to playing in the Prem. He seemingly will probably slot right in, but not just yet. I wouldn't bring him in just yet. There's other players that you can bring in at that price point that you can probably get better value for. So, any other midfielders that we want to hit on? Otherwise, I think we can jump into defenders. Z, you kind of spilled the beans a little bit here. Why don't we talk about Arsenal's defensive signing in Capey? Am I saying that right? In Cappy? In Capey?
Yeah, and copy and yeah, I'll
Close
go and
enough.
copy there. Yeah, I mean, I think from a footballing perspective, he's really exciting. young left defender, kind of just bombs up and down the pitch. I think it's going to be a fun signing for Arsenal to in certain games to use. I think with Arsenal defenders, I mean, you can look at their fullbacks and yeah, Calafiori's been great and Timber's been great, but there's just a lot of rotation risk there in any given game. I mean, if you're looking at an Arsenal defender, it still probably should just be Gabriel, honestly. So, I mean, and Calafiori looks a little bit more nailed, but I think he's more exciting. Hincape is from a footballing perspective rather than FBL perspective. I don't see him starting any of these games coming up, to be honest. I think maybe once the Champions League gets in full force and the cups start coming in, you'll see him rotate through. But I think it's more of a good football signing rather than a awesome FPL signing, at least for now.
Yeah, so priced at 5.5 mil, coming over from Leverkusen with the whole mass exodus with Ten Hag as well, being just kind of shipped out from seemingly just blowing the whole club up. Yeah, Saliba, I think, is going to be out for about 3 to 4 weeks from what I've heard most recently. Is that about right?
Yeah, they're targeting City to be the City fixture to have him back
Okay.
with the international break. 2 of those weeks are used up.
Yeah, so I would say if you're looking to get into Arsenal defense, I agree with you. I think Gabriel's definitely your safest choice. I'm surprised to hear you say that Calafiori and Timber are not nailed. I'm only surprised to hear that just because they've been so good so far this season. I'd be surprised to see Arteta change things up.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason Timber really played that second game is because White had an injury. I mean, White started the first game of the year. Fiore honestly has impressed enough where I think he's the more locked of the two if I was to take a punt on one. He also just offers so much attacking variability. But in games where Arsenal isn't going to dominate the ball, I could see Lewis Skelly playing. However, that happened against Liverpool, and Fiore started against the best right winger in the world. It basically locked him down. So it's probably his spot to lose right now. Just given his injury record, honestly, he's one that I stay away from and would rather just spend the extra 0.3 million at this point to the 90-minute defender that you know is going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Can I
mean,
just hop in on Arsenal
Yeah.
real quick? I don't see Hincapi as an FPL asset really either, but we never know because Arteta may field 11 defenders at one point this season, so maybe you want to get in on that opportunity.
What a set piece that would be.
This is an FPL pod, Oz, not a tactics pod. We could do that on the segue.
He played
I'd love to.
Oh boy.
he played
Oh,
four
boy.
defenders. He played and 3 DMs against Liverpool. He had no like even care of trying to win that game. It's just gross. It's gross what he's doing.
I know we should have started a 15-year-old instead. You're right. 15-year-old at Anfield.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to win a game, you probably should try to go forward. Yeah, not a tactics pod.
Well, speaking of Arsenal defenders, so another former Arsenal defender who had kind of fallen out of favor, understandably so, Alexander Zinchenko. So he's moved out from Arsenal, moving over to Forest, priced at 4.9 mil. So kind of a little bit cheaper than what he started this season out. I, I think as far as Forest defenders go, he probably is going to push Nico Williams, probably the only player. I don't think he's going to really push anyone else out of the defense there. So, I mean, if you like Forest defense, which I will say I've liked Forest defense, but I don't. I mean, he's not going to push out Milenkovic. He's not going to push out Murillo. But probably someone I wouldn't really target from an FPL perspective, but someone to note, just kind of at that price point. 2 other players, Victor Lindelof's, again, United kind of just clearing house, kind of getting rid of the old regime, dead weight. Priced at 4.5 though. I'm not sure if he'll slot in at Villa. I can't remember if they had an injury to Mings. Or I'm trying to remember, but I'm blanking right now. But either way, I don't trust the red card right now.
Yeah, they had the red card with Konsa.
That's what it was. It was the Konsa red card.
Yeah, and Mings is good to blow his calf or his knee at any point. It's good backup defending, but Lindelof, I mean, if you're getting excited by a Lindelof signing, Jesus,
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
reassess what you're doing at that
Mm-hmm.
point. I will
Mm-hmm.
say though, so James Justin, so Leeds, coming into Leeds from Leicester, priced at
Mm-hmm.
4 mil. So he's a former, FPL. I don't want to say asset because like that almost makes him feel like he's bigger, but he was a player that, a few seasons ago when he was at Leicester, he was one of those players that was priced at like 4.5. I think he may have even been priced at 4 mil at one point. And he was one of those players like he was nailed pretty attacking. He would get up there on the wing. He would, put some balls in the box. I believe with the injury to Goodmanson, I have not checked, but at 4 mil, if he's probably not going to slide right in to start, but if he gets any sort of minutes, Leeds defense isn't great, but if he's, your 4 mil defender that's going to get some minutes and he's going to be attacking and maybe get up in the box, he could be a player you look to target and just kind of stash on your bench, but nothing more than that. I don't know. I haven't really heard much other than that, but
I
defenders are
like what.
kind of weak at this point.
Yeah, I like what Leeds are doing so far. Yeah, but I'm just looking at their lineup. Like Joe Rodon, you're from former Spurs guy.
Welsh
He looks
Warrior, baby.
he looks good in there. Struck is good for like the worst goal you've ever seen, like at any moment. That dude Stotch, though, he's not an
Butters.
FPL. Yeah, Butter Stotch. He's not an FPL guy, but he's
He's good
good on
though.
the eye. Yeah, he's a good player to watch if you're just looking for those. James Justin not coming into my team, but I like the 4 mil defenders that frees up, you know, money elsewhere. So
Exactly.
if he's gonna play, you never know, especially with like the DEFCON points. You never know. So
You never know.
a playing 4 miller is very valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, you might need to save some of those funds for some more expensive goalkeepers. So really only I think two keepers that come to mind. Why don't we talk let's talk City keeper first. So City had an interesting transfer window this entire summer. So they brought in initially James Trafford, who, if you watch a Spurs game, that was a dumpster fire. Bounced back a little bit against Brighton, had some decent moments, but it had some questionable moments as well. Coming off of that, coming off that Spurs game, there were immediate rumors to Donnarumma, who kind of fell out of favor at PSG, who has been priced at 5.5 mil. Donnarumma, to me, could not be any more opposite than Ederson. The two players, to me, like Ederson, I feel like you could put in the midfield right now and he could play with the ball at his feet. I don't see that with Donnarumma. Like, I don't know. I mean, Z, you've obviously seen him a lot. Haas, you've seen him a lot. Like, what do you guys think of this signing?
Is it just a lack of neck tattoos?
It's the lack of kicking ability to me. I
Yeah,
think Donnarumma is like arguably the best shot stopper in the world. And I think watching him under pressure from a Premier League press, I think is going to drive Pep absolutely nuts. I mean, I don't think he brings him in unless he thinks otherwise, because in order to play in that system, you have to play with your feet. I don't know. I've seen a lot of Donnarumma errors with his feet, just bad passes out of the back, holding on to it too long. He's like Gigi Buffon, right? He's a great shot stopper. He's not one that's going to distribute the ball accordingly. This one is very interesting to me to see how it plays out.
do you think this is like a pure like Trafford gets the Prem, Donnarumma gets Champions League? Like, do you think that's all this is?
Could be. Could be. I could also see it as kind of a Pep Linders, again, getting his hands in things here. Pep Linders, I think, was big on the 8 Nori signing, trying to get a whole kind of change in Man City's tactical approach from what it had been in the past. And I kind of see it as more of like the Liverpoolification of City. Like, I don't think Allison is the best with his feet, but he's a good shot stopper. I think Donnarumma kind of fits into that mold as well. Maybe less with the foot skills ability than Allison. But I think Pep Linders is in Pep Guardiola's ear, and I think he's saying like we're gonna be okay, don't worry. It's a total change over at City. They're not. I don't think it's what it used to be. I don't know what to think of City right now. I thought they were coming back, leather jackets and American Badass, like the return of a new version of The Undertaker. And they came out like that in Game Week 1. Game Week 2 and Game Week 3 was not American Badass. That was not even Undertaker. That was like Val Venus type terrible WWF nostalgia. It was gross. So I don't know about
Yeah.
City. I don't know about City.
I'm avoiding them right now. City, I mean, other than Holland, I don't really know who from City you could frankly trust. I mean, until Guardiola comes back healthy, John Stones just left England camp with an injury. Nori had an injury and then he came back out of nowhere. So, like, maybe he's healthy, but maybe he's just pushing it. I don't know, but like City right now, kind of in that same boat as Liverpool. Like the team itself could be very good, but from an FPL perspective, I feel like I need to see things kind of play out a little bit before I get any confidence on who I can really bring in. That's where I think I'm at right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you have City assets, it's one of those things like we said with Liverpool. Hold, I guess, hold. The City's fixtures aren't great. They got some big guns coming up. The biggest of guns, United next in the derby. So I don't know. Weird. I think Holland is going to keep bagging goals, though. He's on like 50 burger watch. Like, I think he could do some crazy
Some
things.
taters.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So,
Well, speaking of United also brought in a new keeper because they said goodbye to Onana.
what's his
Lamens.
name?
So Onana.
What's his name?
Sorry. Tell me more about this Lamens guy. I mean, I feel like I mean, I'll give you my take and then you can tell me because I know nothing about him. But United's defense, I mean, the keeper can only do so much. Do I think that Onana, who also didn't start, like Bander started, I think, did he start all 3 games?
Premier League games, yes. Onana started the EFL Cup disaster.
Yeah. So Bander started. I mean, is Lamens going to take Bander's spot? Because if he's not, then this isn't even a conversation. To be very honest,
I
like,
think
is Lamens
yes.
ready to come in? Yeah. So he's going to take Bander's spot.
He has to be. I don't think Amrim is happy with Bander. The weakness
Am I
is
saying that right? Bander? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, to our Turkish audience, we're sorry. We'll send you a naan bread or whatever they have.
I love a shawarma.
Shawarma. Yeah, there you go. That could be the Indian audience. I think we're completely off base here.
We love the Saudis.
Yeah, it's just our Saudi influence. Bander is so weak on set pieces, and they just get destroyed on every corner kick. When I see United concede a corner, I leave the room. I'm like, we're down another goal. Like, we have no chance. Unless it's a terribly taken corner kick, it's going to be a goal. So anyone who's remotely better on corner kicks is a plus. Goalkeeper is one of those positions. It's not like you need a ton of integration like these other guys that we're talking about. So yeah, I do think you can just roll the dice with Sene Lamens and throw him in there. Onana, like, my God, I know the defense was bad in front of him, but like when you watch that like fail mixtape that is out there on the X, on Elon's X, like,
It's out there.
mother of God, like that's atrocious.
I mean, is this guy, I mean, is he like, are we talking like a player of the caliber, let's say, who could go on like an Edouard Mendy type of run where it just comes in and like completely just reshapes the defense and, like, I don't know anything about this guy,
I mean, he's coming from Royal Antwerp. He's Belgian, from the Belgian Jupiler League.
So he likes waffles.
It's one of those obscure leagues that you're going to like maybe throw in a random bet in on like a Saturday morning because it's like in between, the Serie A and the Bundesliga starting up and the Prem is like on a weird time. Oh, that's the only time you're even scrolling to the Jupiler League on your apps. I don't know what to think. I saw like Real Madrid legend and former Chelsea legend Thibaut Courtois was very big on Sané Lamens because he's also Belgian. I, I don't know. It's goalkeeper's one of those positions too. It's like I don't know. Do you get hyped for a goalkeeper signing? Are you pumped? In this case, yeah, because it means no more Onana. But am I like,
Right.
am I going to the Mega Store app right now to buy a Lamens kit? No, but like just save 3 more balls a game and you're the man. Like it's the easiest transition. Like there's got to be 0 pressure on this guy, right? Coming in.
Well, I mean, my take, I think right now you hold off on him. Donnarumma, anyone who's more than 4.5, because the money can be better spent. Like, I just think he's got to prove himself. He's got to prove that he's worth the 5 mil, because that extra half mil, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it can go pretty far depending on, where you might want to use that money. If it gets you from, say, I don't know, I'm just throwing a name that's in front of me here. If it takes you from Hincapi to Gabriel, right? Like, I'd rather have Gabriel, right? So, like, an extra half mil here or there, it's worth it. I'm not touching either one of these keepers this week. Probably not for the next 2 game weeks at least, just basically looking at those fixtures. But we'll see. I mean, they're going to be interesting because they're big clubs, they're big names, big expectations. So we'll see how they play out.
And they may have to face each other, right? They may have to face each other in
Yeah,
their first fixtures for their club. So that's pretty wild.
that would be interesting.
United should have just signed Donnarumma. That was the better signing for them. They let that one get away.
Maybe he'll
Yeah.
switch sides at half. That'd be
They,
wild.
yeah,
And switch jerseys.
it was like, it's a flashback to game week 1 when, United should have signed Gyökeres and you guys should have signed Šeško. And now here it is again. It's just like all these other guys that United should have signed. I feel like that's just who we play all year long is just all these other people that would make United better. The key is no one's going to make United better because the club is failing and is just a dumpster fire. So we are who we are.
Yeah, that's
Positive.
it's okay. You made a final last season. All right, so we're at that point. We're almost done here. So just want to take a moment, real quick. FPL team of the season so far. So there's been some surprises, some players that probably weren't on most FPL managers' radars. Just gonna read through them. Vicario, keeper from Spurs, 21 points thus far. Zach mentioned Calafiori, defender over at Arsenal with 28 points. Trevor Chalobah over at Chelsea, 27. Kieran Timber, 26, defender at Arsenal. Senesi, 25, Bournemouth. Oss, you mentioned. Iraola's got those boys. Playing defense, doing great. Mark Gahey, 23 points, backed by a goal from last week, who will stay at Palace at least until January. Enzo, 25 points, nabbed a penalty last week. Good for him. Semenyo, 23 points over at Bournemouth. Jackie Boy Grealish, 22 points. Been loving that move from City over to Everton. Pedro, 26 points. And Erling Haaland, 24 points. Your team of the season thus far. If you've had this team, you're better than everyone. If you have none of these players, you're still okay. Don't worry about it. All right. Real quick, if you guys have 2 minutes to spare, are you guys using any chips this week? I'm curious. Have you guys thought about using any chips game week 4?
Down on my bench boost. So I've used my first half bench boost this year so far. Not looking to wild card right now. That would be the only one. But as of right now, as of recording, no chips for me. Only used that bench boost. I used it week 1.
Yeah, so I wild carded last week before the break. So if I make a transfer too, which I don't like to do after a wild card, I do have 2 free transfers this week. I could set up a really nice bench boost with like half my team playing promoted sides. So that's what I'm toying with now, but I'll make that decision as it gets closer. Let these other international games finish up and see sort of some of the press conferences before the games.
Yeah, I know. There's so much information still to be had. I would say, to your point, Z, if you're thinking about deploying, a chip like that, maybe hold off until you have a little bit more information. Wait till some of these international games wrap up. If you are willing to wait until you get some press conferences from some of the managers towards the end of the week, that's great too. But it's still very early. There's still lots of game weeks. I mentioned it in our last episode. I am in last place, but I'm only, I think last I checked, 38 points off second place in our league. So, the difference of about 20 places in our league is only separated by about 40 points, which could be made up in a couple of game weeks if I hit a couple players. So still very early. Don't panic. There's still lots of time. So just want to thank everyone for the time today. Hopefully we hit on everyone that was notable in the transfer window. Want to take the time, thank FPL BlackLab, Zach, and the Commish, Austin, for coming back on the episode today. Always fun when they stop by and drop some nuggets of wisdom with us here. Hopefully they'll come back, and hopefully I didn't scare them off today. And shout out to Jim. We miss you, and hopefully you're back soon. But that being said, we'll be back in a few days with our Game Week 4 episode preview. In the meantime, please do like, subscribe, follow us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Drop us a comment with any questions, any surprises, and not too late to join our mini league still. We'll drop the code in the description. And until then, happy tinkering.
Draft dreams rise like morning sun, chasing points, the game's begun. Big decisions week by week, fantasy glory's what we seek. Pick your squad.